Hello YouTubers, and welcome to another episode of RegeneRate. Today, we are going to be going over 3 different games that we've gone over within these last few weeks and give you our best opinions, tips, advice, reviews. And to start, we're going to start with Forte. Forte, tell us, what were you going over?
Well, in between Monster Hunter World, I've been playing Final Fantasy Dissidia. For those of you who do not know, Final Fantasy Dissidia is a fighting game encompassing several characters all over the board from every title ever released from Final Fantasy. And also for those of you at home, Final Fantasy does not go into each other, so what is in one will not be in 13. They're all individual stories. However, in Final Fantasy Dissidia, every character from the Final Fantasy series that you may know and love come together and fight for a god of their choosing. In the original game, which was for PSP, you fought either for the side of Cosmos, the goddess of harmony, or Chaos, the god of discord. And that, within itself, was an amazing game. Between the story and the roster you got to choose from, you had endless possibilities of just a good time. The story was flawless, and you kind of felt for both the heroes and the villains. Especially during the second release of the Dissidia title, when they added a prelude and the chance to play through the villain side of the story, saying what their schemes would be. Now, that is not the case with this game. Dissidia NT is what just came out for PlayStation 4, a few good years after the PSP title release. With this, you see some familiar faces from the original titles. However, due to the events of the first Dissidia franchise game, Cosmos and Chaos no longer exist. It's their living wills in the form of Materia and Spiritus. As the game progresses, you kind of figure that out, that they themselves don't really know who they are and what they were brought here to do except for combat. I have given it a rating system, however, it is, in my opinion, a 7 out of 10 game. Simply put, the story was not what it was for the first Dissidia title. NT has its own sensibilities, and I did like that it was a fresh and new idea, and the graphics are really amazing. However, the story did not flow quite as well as the first title did. I felt the story was a little bit rushed, and the story mode that you play through, you actually have to grind in the offline mode or online fighting other people in hopes to get story tokens, which unlocks different scenes. It's not really as smooth as one would think, but it is still fun, don't get me wrong. It's just, I'm not someone who likes to grind, despite the fact Final Fantasy XIII was one of my favorite Final Fantasy titles, and that was one of the most grind-happy games besides 7. And those of you who played 7 in the early years, you know that that was one of the grind-happiest games you could ever run into. Now, it's all in their own discretion, depending on who plays it. I'm happily grinding through it. I'm midway through story mode right now, give or take a few episodes, but some of the boss characters labeled as Platinum difficulty are just that. There's a reason why Platinum holds over Silver and Gold. For the simple fact that if you rush into things, you will get stuck and have to grind your way through certain levels. Now, also, again, it is a good title, I believe. And also, with me taking away some points from it, the roster should have been a little bit bigger. The majority of the hero side are faces that we've already seen in the beginning titles, and a couple of extras, like putting in Final Fantasy XV's Noctis. Now, granted, that is a good choice because, you know, Final Fantasy XV was the most recent title, and it's really good. It's more along the lines of the earlier concept of Final Fantasy characters should probably have been used a little bit better, like characters from 2, 3, 4, anything before 7 should have really gotten more exposure, in my opinion. And not to mention, titles all across the board should have gotten more. This is for PlayStation 4, for goodness sakes. You know, we have the capability of adding more characters than just a small handful. But that's just not my only gripe either. The hero side had way more than the villains did. The villain side consisting of characters that have already been there. And quite frankly, they should have added characters such as Arden from 15 to counteract Noctis. They should have put Kai's Ballad in for 13 too, because really with Lightning there, she's just there's one that's really no one heavily representing 13's titles, and we got 3 of those titles, which was a good series. Really is one of those games where if you wanted to wait a little bit and waited for the price to go down, I wouldn't be mad at you for it. Plus, they've not even announced really their DLC characters right now.
My thirst for carnage.
You know, we got 6
Stick together and we'll win.
hints that really weren't hints that come to find out there's 5 characters being brought from new half of the Final Fantasy title line for DLC purposes, and then 1 what they would label an older character.
What would you say is your favorite hero character out of the whole thing?
Lightning, actually. Lightning was my favorite has been my favorite to use, considering, you know, like I said previously, 13 is one of my favorite titles of, a lot of people would argue that, because, you know, 13 had a rocky kind of relationship with fans. The first one was traditional role-play, 60 hours, came with, I think, so it was that old Final Fantasy formula. And then some people find out story, which I honestly thought about stories like, well, maybe they never had a clear-cut villain other than, of course, they were going into space to And then, of course, they found Fantasy 13 which, we're not using words, simply because the story behind that is the aftermath of the first title of 13, where Lightning's sister goes on to find Lightning. And it goes from the first 13 title, which was a linear flow of this 28 1 to C, to the fighting against with 13 2, they had that rebel and Paradox with them. But the good thing that came from 13-2 was my personal favorite villain so far, Caius Ballad, which
I'm guessing is also your favorite villain in Dissidia.
well, he's not in Dissidia. That's my problem right now. Yes, they didn't put him in. They put Lightning in a second time around for the game, but they didn't add her villain, which was Caius Ballad. And also, in a sense, they really should have added her sister, whose name is Sarah. They should have added her too, because if you were going to represent each Final Fantasy, I also believe you should incorporate the 2s, the sequels, the
Like the support character?
Well, she wasn't a support character, because Sarah was the main character of the second game. Yeah, she was the one trying to find Lightning the entire time, because the beginning of 13-2 was them trying to find Lightning because somehow she mysteriously disappeared, which comes into the story itself where they defied fate in the first game. The goddess Petro, who I believe was the goddess of death, can't fully remember the details on that, summoned her from her existing realm into the hollow, which is between time and space, where everything's pretty much world. And by doing that, she disappeared, and everyone around her.
Alright, so what's your favorite villain from Dissidia?
Oh, favorite villain. Well, anyone who knows me knows I love a good villain, period. I think my favorite plays the Emperor from Final Fantasy 3, I believe. It's just pure magic, trap magic, all that good stuff. Also, my close second would be Kuja from Final Fantasy 8? No, 9. 9, I think. Simply because he's not really truly, in the way Dissidia depicts him, yes, he's on the villain's side, but every time you turn around, this was even in the first Dissidia game, he would pop up to help his younger brother, which is the hero of that title that they're sharing. Now, my one gripe, again, is they didn't add enough character representation, so with 13 not giving us Caius Ballad, they didn't give us Arden from 15, which has been my current favorite villain of any Final Fantasy title. That's a story for another day, because I don't believe even I filmed in that camera to record my love for Arden Azunia from Final Fantasy 15. And I really hope when they start adding DLC, because you have to, he was such a popular character as far as the voting goes for all the stuff that they were talking about content-wise, that it's pretty obvious that they're going to have to add him as a character. If they don't, I know a lot of Final Fantasy fans that are going to be deeply disappointed.
Jet?
Alright.
What did you play?
I actually played Shadow of Colossus. Now, for some that don't know, Shadow of Colossus actually was released on the PS2 originally, and it was one of its better graphical games, but it was very simple. Unlike most remakes for newer generations like this, it didn't revamp anything other than graphics and game, the way the game played. The story was almost exactly the same. They didn't barely change anything. And some people were like, well, why wouldn't you change stuff up? Because this game is what it needs to be. The original story was amazing. I believe they added a few minor details to the story, maybe like because the way the original didn't have much of a voice to it. You didn't know where you were going or what you were doing. You just had to figure it out on your own, and you're still doing that. But I love the way they brought this game to the newer generations, because not only is it so much more graphically amazing than the first, but it's something to take in. It feels like you're in a movie almost. You can actually, when you're playing, you can see the grass blowing, you can see it at things happening as you're moving along it. It's just such a big world, and it's so open. You know, now when you're playing it may seem empty, but that's the point, to take in the surroundings. Now, on to the battles. I think the battles were updated a bit. Maybe to make the monsters a little more. Some of the tactics for beating each Colossus are the same, but I think they changed a few things around to make it smoother. It is so much smoother than the old game. Not to say that the old game was blocky, but it was a little more, I don't know what you would call it, rough. But then again, that was the PS2. You don't notice it back then until you get to now.
Where everything is crystal clear like a movie.
I love the way they've detailed each Colossus even more so. Every little fine detail to their fur bristles and moves. And their stone parts crumble, and you can see the dust coming off of them. It is quite fun. You know, I'm not much for ratings, but I'd have to say, considering I love the previous and I love how they moved it up into the new generation, I'd give it an 8 out of 10, simply because the only flaw I see is it's also still too simple. As one, I was playing against, I think it was the second Colossus. It doesn't actually tell you what you have on you. You know you have a sword, but you really don't know that you have a bow on you. I accidentally stumbled upon the button because I had forgotten that you had a bow in the old one. But that was like an actual requirement for beating the second one, and yeah, for beginner who's never even played it, unless you stumble on that button and accidentally press it, you won't know what you're doing.
So it doesn't even prompt you to let you know that you have
Now,
an arrow.
No. If you're taking a little bit of time on each one, like you do take time to strategize, which is perfect about this game. It makes you think, but it does give you hints here and there, but they're very vague hints. So it does not mention a bow in that hint at all. I had to actually stumble upon it, which was what disappointed me. That, you know.
At least it wasn't as mouthy as El Shaddai was for Xbox 360 back in the day. You don't know what that one is? We'll make a later video about El Shaddai. Again, not enough film in that camera.
It gives you the tools you need, but it makes you focus on the entire battlefield. You must look around to all your surroundings, look at the surroundings all over the beast, the area of the Colossus that you're fighting, see what area is needed to fight it. It's very, very, very tactical, which I love tactical games like that. It's what I live for. I don't want to just play and not actually make a decision on the game.
What was your favorite Colossus? Like, what was your favorite, like...
I haven't beaten them all so far. I've only beaten about 11. I was currently working on 12 earlier this morning.
And how many are there?
There are 16 in total, and they get more difficult as they go along.
So you're on 12 so far.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite from the 12?
Favorite from the 12? The fan base. The fan base does have certain names for it, and I have to say one of my favorites that I've seen out of all of them, at least the most fun to fight, was the Quadrillus, I think his name was. He's the second Colossus, and he is basically quadruped, big, bulky, bull type looking thing. And he's rough to get on. It's the one where you actually have to use the bow. You have to fire at his feet.
What would you say is your least favorite?
The first is the bird. That one is fun to play against if you know what you're getting into. But even in the original game, I fought that one, and I despise that blasted bird because you have to find because it flies over top of a lake and it continues to fly, and you have to position yourself just right. You have to like shoot at it, get its attention, get it to swoop in on you, and then you have to jump and grab hold. Now, if you don't know, in the Shadow of Colossus game, you have an energy, like a stamina little thing off to the side, and then you have a health thing that's next to it. You don't have to worry much about health in this game, until you get like way later in the story. But holding on for dear life is one of the key components of this game. And that bird will really, really deplete you. The second one that I hate is a aquatic serpent. It goes underwater. And he's got these little lightning fins on him. And if you get too close, you get in the while it submerges, you can get fried.
So would it make it an electric eel instead of a serpent? I broke you, I'm sorry.
I mean, I guess. Its head resembled more of a serpent. But then again, all the Colossus look like chimeras to begin with. You have to get on its tail, which you gotta catch up to it while swimming. Very difficult.
Brings like the nurse being forced to
Jump up behind his back! You get the tail, grab on. Once it gets the tail out of the water, then you have to slowly work your way. There's little areas where you have to stab to get the fin to stop being electrified. There's 3 fins. You get the first one, and you hold on, run, and do whatever. Once you get up to the head, now that was the difficult part because you move a lot. And underwater, once it's underwater, you're holding on, and you can't do anything while you're underwater. Once I actually got through the third lightning fin, I moved on to the forehead, and for a moment, he likes to dive down, and you have to let go again, swim out the top, and do the whole thing again. Luckily, that one you don't have to shut off the blades again. But
imagine the Zelda Breath of the Wild flashbacks.
And for the third, it looks like a big old sand slug.
Sand slug.
Sand slug. You have to use your horse for this. And you have to run away with the using the horse and fire a bow at the same time. It's a lot of button mashing and making sure you're not being swallowed whole by this creature and its sand.
Alright, well, I've been going over Dragonball FighterZ, or I guess some people call it FighterZ. But I definitely have to start off and say
Wait, hold on, before you get started. Does it take you 3 days for one fight?
No.
No? Then it's not an authentic Dragon Ball Z game. That's, as kids watching Dragon Ball Z, it took me 3 weeks for each episode to air. So I'm just wondering if it take you 3 days, 3 weeks, to finish one fight. I mean,
No, unfortunately it wasn't that difficult. It may have helped a little bit.
I'm just saying, if you combine that with old Final Fantasy games, insert disc 2 to finish this fight. Insert disc 3 to see the ultimate power of the end of this fight.
Anyway, so yeah, to start off with Dragon Ball FighterZ, for those who have played Dragon Ball fighting games before, is definitely not Budokai. Now in Budokai, as some may know, it was more 3D, and it was able to have a lot more movement around your map, your arena, almost like an older Mortal Kombat. Well, not an older Mortal Kombat, but like a
Post or after Annihilation.
yeah, after Annihilation type of deal.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, you can have a full spectrum to move around the map. With Dragon Ball FighterZ, they've gone back to the side scrolling. You could almost say, you could actually pretty much compare it to a Street Fighter, because the graphics graphics in every fight is about the same as Street Fighter. You have HD background, an HD character that can go back and forth, and the fight pretty much stays within the same spot that you begin. Now there are some moments where you can knock your opponent out and crush a building, but it still all comes right back to where you first started. Unlike the Budokai, where if something happened in the map, it completely changed the map. You were still in the same area, but the map changed with the destruction. The story is a little bit different as well. I believe they've tried to make it give a little bit more personalization for the players, because it starts off kind of weird. Pretty much wake up as Goku, but you are a soul that's trapped inside Goku's body, because Goku is trapped inside his own body and cannot wake up. To go throughout the story, it turns out that there's a bunch of waves going around the earth, putting all the strongest fighters to sleep inside their own bodies and inside their own mental state until they are woken up. When they are woken up, they are weak and cannot help themselves, and so it requires you as the soul to go inside each body, control them, and be the fighter for them while they are in the background telling you how to fight.
Much like every frat party I've ever been to.
But I guess they tried to also add in a lot of older, more of my generation Dragon Ball characters, as well as some of the newer stuff that's going on now.
Well, I saw the roster. It's either really, really old or really, really new.
Yeah.
But there's no in between.
There's no in between.
I had a friend playing it the other day when I walked in to their house, and I saw some pink lady that looked like Majin Buu. And I gotta tell you, I felt some type of way. As someone who enjoys playing female characters, I saw that and I was like, what's so special about her? Because, you can make any generic female character. And then I saw her turn her opponent into a little cake and eat it. And I thought to myself, is this the character that I want to pretend to be in the shower for the rest of my life? Because it hit a nerve in me.
I don't think I've gotten that far
That
yet.
I, too, could be a man-eater.
Alright, you played different characters, right?
Yeah, pretty much. They have to say. I hope they have a little bit more DLC, because the roster is small. And
Compared to the other fighters, I know that Dragon Ball Z was pretty much Marvel vs. Capcom 2 in scale, because it used to have remember when Goku had red hair? Well, here's Goku with blue, gold, and white hair.
And a lot of the Dragon Ball Budokai games, there was a large spectrum of characters. Whereas this one, you pretty much have Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, Frieza. Frieza, Cell. There's some new characters I don't know about. I was about to make it kind of exact.
It's from the series apparently. Where everyone is a second of some form. Yeah, I watched the anime, and he's like, I'm going to eat these things. Yeah, I just spent a minute.
There's like two god characters that I've never seen before, but they're in the game as well. They got a couple of androids in there. They have some of the captains from Frieza's people. They have Cooler. They have Yamcha. They have Trunks. They have that fusion of Trunks. Gohan. Yeah, they have Gohan. And then they have Kid Buu. Yeah.
I remember correctly, for playing games, very good aerial line up and stay in the air.
Yeah, short was hard to hit. But I kind of miss Budokai, because there was one funny character that I missed playing as, even though he wasn't the strongest, was Hercule. Because Hercule was always fun to just have him go in there, because he was so stupid and so clumsy, but yet he still managed to fight his way through everything. So yeah, they need to give us a little bit more for the roster.
Well, as far as the roster, me, I'm good keeping up with what's coming for DLC for most games. I know they're being Broly. I know there's based off of them. I'm Goku's father. And then there's, I think it's the first season will be 6 to 8, and 6 is the beginner. And then I'm finding stuff to the 6 character thing. And I'm hoping, because the 6 is the same thing, and then at least that roster will stop supporting any characters. And if Dragon Ball Z being popular as it is, I'm pretty sure the roster's going to be double. I'm sure it's fun. Characters go on, so I mean, they just grab everyone. Not every game. It's more of a relaxing on Twitter, people talking about being very balanced with their character. And for individual fighters, they have characters balance. Even like Overwatch has issues with balancing their characters. If they're not balanced, it's not their role. That doesn't make it fun. Like, so Dragon Ball Z, the way I see it, it's not like the old Z where it's just making everywhere in Battlefield. Dragon Ball Z isn't focusing on more, let's keep it balanced.
And they're always trying to, I know it's just like Blue Guy, they always try to make sure that like, giving another character to play with, trying to make sure balances with their story too.
Right.
Like with the story going on, they're still having, you're not the only one that's sold control bodies. It's a big experiment that they're doing.
All I can imagine when you're talking about souls controlling bodies, like, all I can imagine is the people actually playing them, because you're playing them.
Yeah.
There's you, and then there's little Timmy down the street who's just like, I'm gonna play Vegeta and spam this one move the entire time and run the whole show.
Actually, a good thing about that, now that you mention it, spamming moves, they have actually managed to make it to where you cannot spam moves in here. Because what it is you, if you've noticed on like a bunch of fire games, they have the energy bar.
Well, not even that. I know with, Mortal Kombat X, they've developed the thing that if you do it more than twice, your next try of doing it in a row, it fails. I remember playing Cyrax with the net, and going to do the net, irritating my friend. The third time it just went and didn't do anything. I was like, well, never mind, they fixed that problem.
But yeah, with their energy bar, they've made it to where you have to make sure you charge that thing up. Like you gotta do the charge before you use any special moves. And if you don't have any charge up, you're just not gonna be using it. So if you try to think you could sit back and shoot little balls, you know, think again.
I've never in my point of life thought of sitting back and just shooting little balls on TV.
Well,
but thank you for that analysis.
You're welcome. You're welcome. But yeah, besides the story and the roster, I do appreciate the classic feel of a fighter game like that. Because I mean, we have gone I feel like we've gone so far and gone to the 3D style too soon to forget to enjoy small things like this. And the classic feel for me is actually nice. Some people may not enjoy it as much because they'll be expecting Budokai. I was expecting it, but at the same time I got in, I enjoyed the story's graphics. I actually enjoyed the side-scrolling fighting. And then there is the multiplayer, which I've noticed a lot of games are doing now, where they're having the separated servers. And then here they have their own lobby area for many players to gather up. You can select it by region. You can select it by which room it is inside that region. And then you'll just be matched with a bunch of different characters in this one little lobby. And you walk around with your own little chosen avatar. Like right now I'm walking around with Piccolo. And you go and you can see the other players that are in the same lobby as you, talk to them. From there you'll go to your story mode. You'll walk to your arcade mode. They had the local matches, which at that moment you can actually play with somebody else in the same room. Then they have the world matches, and then there's something called arena match. I do have to say with arena match and world match, the time to try to pair up with somebody and actually perform a match, I believe is a little bit too long. Maybe it's because the servers are busy, or maybe because they're still doing updates to that, but I do feel like it could go a little bit faster in the process of getting you some match, because it shouldn't take you 5 minutes to
Well, that seems
pair
to
up
be the
with
problem
somebody.
with everything coming out now, because Monster Hunter, if you didn't forget, which is 2 weeks ago, so Toby wouldn't forget, we had to get a couple of updates to help with matchmaking, Xbox being the worst case scenario because of all the issues coming from that, and even PlayStation received one this last
I was gonna say they just got one.
Yeah, we just got an update for that. I got excited because I saw an update and I was like, yay, more monsters. And no, it's a patch. And then with Dissidia, we also got a patch with that as well. Same problem, not being able to.
Yeah, and the new Dragonball game hasn't been out that long, so I'm sure they'll have something for that soon.
It doesn't take very long for them to release that patch.
But I do say that may be something that you might need to fix because just sitting time. I've been able to log into a local match, been able to log into a world match with somebody, and you can choose who you want to fight against. Like it'll tell you, hey, you want to fight this person with this amount of connection. If it's not a good enough connection for you, just say no. But
I do not want your bad connection against my proper full collection. And go.
yeah, no. And one thing I don't care much for is if there is a moment, which they probably will update this too. When you get into an online match with somebody, there is no option to leave that match. There's no pause menu, no leave. If you want to completely come out of that match, you're just going to have to close out the whole game application and restart the game.
You're just mad because you had to go to work.
I am. You called me.
You had to go to work early.
You called me right at that moment.
To be fair, how would you feel if you waited such a long time to get into a match and then all of a sudden the person
leaves?
just
Yeah, I know. But I feel like there should be that option out there that you should have the availability to leave without having to close out the whole game.
I'm sure that.
But again, another update, and maybe I shouldn't try to play a game right 30 minutes before work.
Man, that is choices.
TV.
Choices.
always.
I have not been able to experience an arena match yet. I've tried to join up. Pretty much when you go to try to join up in an arena match, your character sits there and does the whole little motion like that. He's literally sitting there for I sat there for 2 minutes. Finally some guy as a Hercule avatar came up in there. And we were both doing the same thing, but nobody else joined, so I literally just sat there for 5 minutes before
I'm pretty sure if they added different little dances, you wouldn't be complaining. I would not mind seeing Yamcha doing the Macarena. I mean, man got big thighs. That would be entertaining.
Hey, he's still the same Yamcha.
Of course, I've seen it played, so
Same Yamcha that just dies.
Well, I was gonna say the lady lover, but
I mean,
but in the story, a lot of characters got brought back to life just for this event or something.
well, I mean,
considering.
Yeah. Oh, another thing to point out. I feel like it was a step back for Dragon Ball as far as Bandai goes. A lot of the Budokai games had English voiceover, whereas in this one, Bandai more focused like they did on a lot of their anime games and gave it the Japanese voiceover with English subtitles.
Now I thought this one had English voices.
No, just Japanese. Then they did the English subtitles like all their new anime games.
I mean, to be fair.
I mean, that's not a really big problem.
To be fair though, with it being, cause a lot of these characters I don't think have English voice actors yet. Like I know the new ones, I don't think have English. Correct me if I'm wrong. You can leave a comment down below. I don't think they have a lot of English voice actors right now.
Not really.
Because the new series just has started doing its thing. I mean, I could be completely wrong. I've not watched Dragon Ball Z in several years.
Yeah.
I just know about Purple Kitty Man. That's because a friend sent it to me.
God of Destruction. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he reminds me a lot of you. No, I'm not going to do anything to feed me.
I mean,
If you do, I'm not going to kill you.
I mean,
Maybe.
I won't blow up your house if you don't give me fatty food. That's just how that works. I mean, that's etiquette, guys. It's called etiquette. Look it up.
It's also called being a cat.
Anyway, that's not too much of a setback, but I am a little. I guess I've never heard the original voice of Goku before in Japanese, but it is so.
That bothers me too.
It's so mousy.
And it's just all the tiny characters
It's like
have
me.
tiny voices.
Yes, it's like.
I understand what you're
I
saying.
feel like with the muscle sizes that they have, it should be more like a Gladio, you know?
Well, I mean, to be
He
fair,
did sound like a kid even in the English version, but
to be
like
fair,
a more.
It was still deep toned a little bit.
To be fair though, when you do steroids, there are side effects.
Yeah, I imagine all that charging up would do something.
I mean, no normal person has muscle mass like that without a little help from his Uncle Roy. I'm just saying.
I mean, and the fact that they can eat so much, I mean, there's got to be some explanation there.
It all goes through their thighs. I mean,
That makes sense why they can crush heads.
I mean, I'm no Sonya Blade, but if I had thought
That's not
that,
Zang-
I could
that-
break
no,
people's
that's
necks too.
Zangief.
Zangief.
Now, as far as DLC, who are you wanting to see in?
Well, like I said before, I'd appreciate to see Hercule just because he's the comedic relief. But I don't know.
Now, I'll aim it because I don't know if you asked me earlier because my mind is gone and it's late in the evening. Whereas I stand, as far as Final Fantasy, just because we both were doing fighting games in this review, where I stand up, I would like more of the old characters to be represented. Do you want more of the old ones to be represented, or with what we were talking about? There's either really, really old characters and really, really new characters. Would you want the middle to be represented?
I would like. I'm personally more accustomed to the older ones, but I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of both, just so I can see, what is everybody else working with. But I would appreciate for them to bring back a little bit more of the old characters. What's some of the ones that they're missing?
And while you're thinking on that, is there any one-shot character? Because I know, again, I've not watched Dragon Ball Z in forever.
Me neither.
I know anime has a big thing of here's a one-shot character for this one episode, for this one time only. Do you feel that those characters should have a slot in DLC, or?
I mean,
because I'm partial.
I was gonna say it's hard to say. I mean, I feel like it'd be. I feel like if it's going to be one of the one-shot ones, it should be a special event. But I wouldn't really want to focus on that. I'd more focus on the characters that more people are familiar with.
Right. Now, see, I don't have the opportunity.
I'd like to see some of the characters, like, not even from the Z era. I want to see some ones brought in.
Like
from
Dragon Ball.
Yeah, I would love to see more
Maybe
Dragon
even
Ball.
bring in Kid Goku.
Yeah,
I mean,
I would love Kid
I feel like Budokai even missed on that chance. Was to
well, I
bring
mean,
back some
not
of
everybody.
Dragon Ball.
Dragon Ball was a very, very, very long time ago. That was way before our time too. I think we were like a twinkle in our father's eyes when Dragon Ball first launched for our generation.
I would like, ape Goku. Okay.
That would be like a boss battle.
Well,
Cause if we're talking giant ape Goku that destroyed mountains.
I
I was
mean,
gonna say it probably turned into a whole other game.
Well,
you got Vegeta Ape too.
that's true. Cause see with Dissidia, and I actually didn't bring that up. This reminded me. Thank you for bringing that up. In Dissidia NT, you have boss battles in the story where you fight the Indolians, the god summons, whichever anybody remembers them as. And I'm actually stuck on one. The Rama, the lightning one that's in 15 that has the big staff that sends down the lightning. Rama, something like that.
Something like that.
But like, there is a total of 6.
It's crazy because
7.
every fight.
I think I would say it's interesting. They do have their own forms of boss battles, but it's like the way
the characters. It's
yeah.
like, and again, Dissidia has that
Yeah.
too. It's just with Dissidia, you have like that big boss.
Oh yeah.
Choose 3, fight that one,
Yeah.
because you have to think about what you're doing. I personally, if they're adding more DLC, hope they add more Indolian summons, cause I'm hoping that, here's 3 characters, here's a line of the story that they can just add to it, and this is the character you get to fight. I mean,
Speaking of bosses, in Colossus, it's pretty much every fight is a boss battle because there's no other smaller fight.
I mean,
You're fighting a boss each time.
the name of the game is Shadow of the Colossus.
Which, by the way,
Shadow.
there is. I think there's supposed to be a couple of them aren't necessarily extremely large. Like the one I recently fought.
Are you still in their shadow?
Yes.
If you're still in a shadow.
No, there's one that's probably the size of a big lion, like not like a regular sized lion, maybe.
If there is a shadow, it's a boss battle.
All I know is I could stand up and my head reached the top of its back.
If Kratos yells at it and throws his twin swords, it's a boss battle.
True.
Yeah. But yeah, I can't
even apply to that.
They're pretty much.
I felt like Kratos needed to be brought up because God of War is coming out in a few weeks, and I think that'll probably, truthfully, be the next thing we review.
I will certainly be reviewing it.
But anyway, I would have to say I'd give Dragon Ball FighterZ probably an 8 out of 10. And only being because, everything about the game is great.
I feel like I'm the Simon Cowell of this group. You both are just like, 8 out of 10? I'm like, 7 out of 10. There's not enough characters and stories. Story needs to be longer, there's flaws.
I feel like there should be more, but again, I haven't played that long into it.
Well, mine wasn't that bad.
Well, the only thing I would take off of it and make it the 8 out of 10 is the fact of, the complications of online play. And then on top of that, which I didn't mention before, in their story campaign mode, what you have is you have a map and you have a certain amount of turns to get around until you face the boss battle. And as you go through the map, the characters that you're getting ready to face against level up.
Good scrub.
Well, they don't have really anything to work with.
Get good.
They got power-ups. They got power-ups for your characters. But,
say it with me now.
Get good scrubs.
If this was an Oprah moment, I would be passing out little cards that have "Get good scrubs" to everyone in my audience.
But the complication in story mode is, I feel like there's too much tutorial going on. I have yet to reach a point in my story where I'm actually doing a real fight.
How long have you been playing it? Truthfully. There is tape in that camera.
I've played like good 5 hours worth now.
5 hours.
Yeah.
You know what?
But
you said yours is like full of tutorial. Mine has almost like zero tutorial.
But I feel like
see, you're over here. There's too much tutorial. He's over there going, "How do I use my bow and arrow?" There's not enough tutorial.
The reason I say it like that is because I've gone through 3 maps already, and all the way up to the boss battle, there's just complete tutorial. Like they're not really fighting me, and I go off from. I practically beat them like they're butter.
I raise you the stakes. I raise you the stakes of playing Dissidia. And even though you finish the tutorial in like 5 minutes, you have a little character called a Moogle who wants to go, "Use your HP, Kupo!" Like, you get that every few... Use your HP! Block! Bravery attack, Kupo! Throughout the entirety of every fight.
I would love that!
And every single tutorial, Goku's sitting up there telling you what moves you should use, and he's just...
You know what? I would love having either of those compared to the subtle little, almost like a riddle. I'm like, oh yeah, this is what you got to do, but they're not going to tell you exactly where you want to do it. Like, cross to higher ground. Which higher ground? I don't know.
Kenny, let me set the mood for you. You have lost to the same character about 8 times because you are not a high enough level to fight it. But like me, you want to try to beat it without having to level up because you want to know the story. And you are right there about to throw your controller and you're focusing and you're almost done. You almost beat it and you are hyper-focusing. And in the moment you're about to do the last strike, you hear, "Don't forget to defend Kupo!" as you go in and you get knocked across this battlefield and lose.
See, I would love to
like
have.
Monster Hunter
I would love to
right there.
have some of those moments in the story because, like I said, after 5 hours of playing the game already, I'm still playing tutorial. And then you leave story to go play other players or arcade mode, and you just get wiped out like it's nothing. Like, I would love to have some real competition in the story by now, please, so that I don't get wiped out.
What mode are you playing?
Story.
Normal?
It doesn't have a. It's just
Oh.
regular story, and it's making you go through all the tutorial first.
Well, how much story do you have left?
I don't know. I haven't exited tutorial yet
Did
because
you realize by the time you got to the end of the story,
tutorial
you're gonna be going, what?
tutorial this end at the end of the story.
I mean.
Now I will say I like their arcade mode. Arcade mode is actually pretty cool.
Now, arcade mode. You get endings for beating up certain characters, correct?
Supposed to, yeah.
Okay.
You're supposed to unlock more when you beat.
Let me tell you the saddest story in one sentence. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinity does not have endings to their arcade ladders.
Tier 1 single.
One single.
Anyway, Tear Shed.
I'm never not letting go. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinity. You hurt me. You owe me a game.
Hashtag you heard us.
Yeah.
No, not even you. Forget YouTube. Me. You hurt me. I was your biggest cheerleader. I'm coming for that, God. You thought you could get me with Monster Hunter. And it kind of worked. And I'm not going to admit. Until Devil Hook comes out, though, I'm not going to be fully satiated. I'm coming for that, Capcom.
Never satisfied. Hashtag.
Hashtag never satisfied. No problems.
Anyway, guys, I think we'll wrap it up. Remember, YouTubers, to like, subscribe, share the video.
You can find me on my new forum called Monster Lair.
As always, you can
Find me on Twitter under Forte Sutcliffe or at Stephen Edenfield. Feel free to pop over, say hi, give me a like, a follow. I'm not as effervescent on camera as I am on Twitter. I do share a lot of stuff, but I do keep you in the loop.
And you can follow our Twitter feed and as well as the new Snapchat. And till next time, stay hungry and game on.